Good morning. Good morning. We're having some technical difficulties this morning, but we're working through it. I am Tamara Mon Louis, and welcome to Your Business in Digital. Here at Your Business in Digital, what we do is we really help you translate your business to what digital really is and how it helps you to get to money in the bank, right? What are the steps that you need to take as you translate something that's working offline to online and make sure that it's effective and you're not wasting your time, making sure that you are getting the most out of the digital effort that you're putting behind everything that you're doing for your business. So, always excited to be here with my amazing co-hosts. One of them is missing today. She is in Barcelona celebrating her birthday and anniversary. So, Michelle, we miss you, but can't wait to have you back next week. But have a good time. Have a good time. All right. So I'm going to pass it over to Andrea to introduce herself, tell the people who you are, then Michael, and then we will jump into the conversation.
Good morning, everyone. I am Andrea Ragu, and I am your virtual CFO. I am the voice of your money, and I help you make better financial decisions for your business. I help take your business from a liability to an asset so that it becomes a blessing and not a burden. Welcome to the show.
And good morning, everyone. I am Michael Wilshire, Director of Business Development and Sales at Monovan Digital. We always here to make sure that you're able to drive revenue with your online presence and measure the impact of your efforts. So thanks again for joining us as well.
All right, guys. So, well, today is going to be a continuation of the conversation we were having on Monday, where we were talking about e-commerce, and we were talking about this new e-commerce store that we have up and running called High Knickknacks. I will drop the link. Mike, could you drop the link on Clubhouse, and I will put a little bit of a banner up here because we have these really cool banners now. And I will jump over to the store to just kind of refresh for those of you that are joining us for the first time. We are broadcasting across Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, as well as Clubhouse. So if you want to check out the screen shares and see us on video, join us on one of the other platforms. If you just want to listen along, stay on Clubhouse, that's fine. But I'm going to do a quick screen share and present the website so you get to see what we're talking about. All right. And this is the website that we're talking about. So this is the e-commerce store that we have been working on. It's called High Knickknacks. The idea is that you can personalize jewelry for your loved one. You could write their name. You could write a message. And, so we've been working on this. This is a new store that we've been working on as a part of a new set of revenue for the business, as well as an opportunity to test out some of our digital marketing efforts. So definitely check out this site. It is a work in progress, right? Because we're also learning as we go along, and we're setting up all the things that we need to set up. We're setting up all things, right? So when I say that, what does that mean? We have email marketing set up. So we're using Klaviyo for email marketing. We have analytics set up so we're looking at Google Analytics all the time. We're running Google ads, and we were running Facebook ads as well. So Google ads are paused right now as I've gotten to a place where I understand some more information based on the data, and I have paused to make those changes and updates. So that's a quick overview. Hopefully that makes sense. And I'm going to kick it back to the team so we can kind of talk through some things. So, Andrea, I know like when we talked last week, you were kind of like, all right, this is cool. This is cool. We're seeing the way. So what are you thinking? What are your questions? What are you thinking?
Oh, wow. Get to me already. So I think the last time we spoke, we talked about, that ability to drive to the high margin items, because at the end of the day, that's in the game that we're playing, right? Website is all nice and all pretty and whatnot, great on the eyes and whatnot. But at the end of the day, we want to understand how does this filter down to to our finances. So I think what I want to highlight, or what I think we should expand upon today, is the cost structure, the financial structure when you have an e-commerce business, right? And if you're hearing my doggy, apologies. It's that time of the morning when the garbage truck passes. But yeah, so I think we could pull the thread on that a little bit, because when you're running a fully digital business, your cost structure could look, it's very interesting what happens to the cost structure, right? Versus if you have a product based business, you have different decisions that need to be made. And in your case, especially, I think you addressed it first, you don't actually hold the items, it's custom made. So when the item, so things like that, when you're looking at a digital business, it impacts your decision making. It impacts things like the timing of when things have to happen, the timing of when finances are coming in and out of the business. So I think we could explore that a little bit. So in terms of cost structure, what have you seen from a business owner perspective? And then I can, translate that with my CFO brain. But what are you seeing coming through as costs in your business?
I'm going to pass this question over to Mike.
I was waiting. I was absolutely waiting. I was like, she's not going to answer that question. So, we're looking at, as you said, an e-commerce model, but we're also looking at a drop shipping model. So for us, that means it's reduced the startup costs a lot. We're not holding product, we're not buying raw materials, none of that. Where the cost does lie is in terms of time, right? And we have to account for that time. So there's a lot of development time that's gone into it, both for the website, for setting up of the emails, for setting up and running of the ads. So you find that a lot more of your time is spent on the project rather than your money. Where you do have to budget, of course, is for that ad spend, right? And that's where we left off on Monday, talking about how quickly we were able to adjust, based on that data coming back from the ads, that we are still able to set an ad budget and keep within that ad budget and move things forward by constant optimization. So overall, I would say it's an easy model to get into because there's that low barrier to entry. There's not a lot of startup costs in terms of, if you were starting absolutely fresh, then I would include things like your hardware, the software, the subscriptions as well. But again, relatively speaking, a low barrier to entry, right? And very low cost to entry. As we go on now, what I want to monitor is that ad spend and the time that we're spending on it. So we should see the time dedicated to it in terms of content production in any form, the ad optimization, profile optimization, and so that should get into flow. So we should be spending less time per day, per week, per month, and we should start to see the returns start to come in on the other side. So that's what that's the complete financial structure. I don't know if there was anything in there that you wanted to ask that I may have missed, but I think that's the complete structure we're looking at.
What he said.
Wow, Tamara, that was a complete bust, Michael. Everything, complete collision. Like, Michael, you take that. But I think, yeah, you more or less covered it. But what I want to highlight with that, and for persons especially who have their e-commerce business or looking to start, the key thing to understand with this is the time impact, because this is not a business that you could see returns right away. So if you had a cake business, right, you could jump up tomorrow and with your KitchenAid decide, I'm going to make, or by the end of the week, you could decide, I want to make 2 or 3 dozen cupcakes and I'm going to sell it right away, right? You could probably get some immediate sales without even doing any Facebook page. You could probably just right within your neighborhood. You could go out there and you could sell door to door. That's a product. But when you have an e-commerce business like this, it takes a while before you could see some returns. And as a business owner, when you're getting into this, you would need to make sure that you have that startup money set aside. And when I say startup money, yeah, you need to have money for the initial subscriptions and stuff. But you see that time that before you see that first sale, if you're going into this all in with no other source of income, you need to make sure that you have that initial money set aside to live on. If you're doing it as a side hustle, well, that's good. It means you have another source of income and you could net off. But that's what I want to pick out of that yes, e-commerce business, great model, low barriers to entry. But the peculiarity with it is that you don't see money right away, and this will impact your financial decisions going forward in terms of when can you pay yourself, when are you going to see cash coming in, and that's something I always talk about when you're managing cash flows. The timing is really important, right? You need to plan for things when you have the cash and not the other way around, right? So that's just my first contribution. Response?
No, absolutely agreed. You have to account for that time, because time, as they say, is money. And we say time is money because I could be foregoing some revenue driving activity from Monovan Digital per se, right? So instead of, say, talking to a client, or a potential client, I am working on the store itself, right? So yes, you need to account for that time and put a cost to that time as well. What I'd like to bounce back to you is, how do we account for the time? How do we account for that time when we come to our cost structure and pricing? Are we including any of it? And how do we include that? But I think you alluded to it in terms of paying yourself. But at that outset, how would we look at that time costing and saying, putting some number next to it in that early stage?
So definitely, yeah, you want to be able to get to some sort of measurable unit, right? And being able to pay yourself. Are you paying yourself based on the hours, the actual hours that you spend? Are you actually tracking your time and saying, I've spent 5 hours on this today, and then another 2 days passes, you don't do anything, and then you spend another 5 hours. And so you go, or are you saying here what I want to pay myself a fixed salary at the end of the month? I want to get $1,000 in my hand at the end of the month from this business, right? So as the first question you want to understand. In terms of which method works right, it's really depending on, I would say, depending on the situation and depending on the specific type of business that you're trying to set up. In a case like this, where you probably already have another set of income on the side, I think you're safe enough tracking your time and saying, well, at the end of the month, I've spent, I don't know, 40 hours on the site. What does that charge out rate look like? And probably try to pay yourself. Now, here's the thing. Doing that calculation is one thing. Being able to pay yourself that actual figure is another, right? So you always want to make that distinction. So definitely account for it. So at the end of the month, even if you say you worked 40 hours, whatever that figure is, I would say yes, definitely account for it and try to make sure it's incorporated in the price, because the price, this item comes already with a price because you're not making it. So you have a price coming from your supplier already. But it doesn't just stop there with just saying, well, okay, it's $10 for the item and I'm just going to tack on a 20%, right? You need to really make sure that after that first line of purchase of the item or the cost of the item, what are the other things? Other things would be the cost of yourself, that 40 hours that we spoke about. What does that look like? All the various subscriptions and whatnot spread across, because essentially that's what you have to do. You have to keep spreading all your costs around all the different items that you sell, because that is where the money is coming from. So each item, every single chain, every single airing has to be able to contribute $1 or $2 towards paying a particular bill, right? So you want to be able to say that somewhere inside that price, $1 is maybe a cost, right? Going back to my operating cost. So definitely, yeah, you want to be able to, so in terms of yourself, track the time, I would say, especially if you can. Is a situation where you can track your time. You could say, well, I'm dedicating to high knickknacks. If it's an 8-hour day, you track it. And at the end of the month, you could say, well, I spent 40 hours, 45 hours. What does that look like? And like I said, definitely account for it. If you could pay yourself it, that's a different story. That's a cash flow discussion. But definitely you want to bring that in.
And that definitely answers it in full, because yes, you have to account for that time. But kicking it back to you tomorrow, we've had some discussions. I know on Monday we talked about, so we just talked about it, that ad spend and how we looked at the analytics. We brought the analytics up. But we've also gone further to kind of start talking about defining customer experiences, right? Um, so while we've shown one store, I'd open the floor to you, let you take it. Some of the things we've talked about as far as what we've seen and what we know will work as, customer service, customer experience points in this business.
Yeah. So, thanks for that cost structure nerd out moment where I was just like, okay, cool. So now I have to carry the 1 plus the 5 plus the 6 plus the 7, and Mike's gonna do that. Just I was like, wow. You guys were having fun, but I understood clearly, but I was like, wow, this is it's a whole other show.
You know how we do. We do,
I was like, when nerds unite.
It could be a whole other show.
It could be a whole other show, but no, I think it's good to kind of hear the breakdown and see and understand, for each product. I love that, right? The cost associated with the time that we're putting in and all that. And before I answer Mike's question, truth be told, I'm in project mode. So when I'm in project mode, it's 24/7. It's not, I can't stop. So I am, because we have to get it done, and it's kind of that pace, right? So it's like the mad scientists in high knickknacks right now. So the hours are ridiculous. But we understand, I think, the earning potential. And so I have to do a better job of tracking that time so that we could start looking at the recoup, right? So that's kind of what that says to me. So I'll jump into it a little bit more and start doing that too. But some of the things we've seen from the analytics, which is really, this is the great part, right? The data that we're getting. So far we spent about $400 in advertising, right? I think $400-500 in advertising. So I've paused all the ads because now I'm like, all right, who is my target audience, right? I had to pull back and be like, who's my target audience? And then I know what keywords I wanted to lean into. And, but the target audience thing, I was just like, what is it? And with Google Ads, what happens is that they're telling you it's not just about pushing the money behind the ads. It's really about the experience that happens, the URL, and the experience of where you put that person is all the things that matter. So I started going back to look at the landing page experience, because I was saying a few things on the site. The message is a little bit convoluted, right? We have the best intention, but I started to pull back and look and see, well, the message is convoluted because it says, get the perfect gift for her. But then I'm targeting women who could buy it for themselves. And men, we have a quiz that I haven't put up yet. So I'm talking to everyone on one page. And then it's also the perfect gift for mom. So I'm like, all right, pull all the way back. What the data is telling me is that my experience is a little bit convoluted. So there are some things that work, right? The breaking down the steps. But if I think about that, that's primarily for men, right? Because women kind of buy things all the time. So I'm like, not that I can't have that there for women. I can absolutely have it there, but men, they need sometimes a little bit more direction, right? Michael and I have a great story from yesterday where he got a new toy, a new electronic toy. He called me and he's like, let's test. And we were testing, and then he was just like, oh, I was like, it doesn't work. And I was like, all right, cool, boo. But there were some good parts. And then afterwards he's like, all right, I'm gonna go read the instructions now. And so we were playing, we weren't really testing. So it was just kind of, so he needed, if those instructions came in some icons, he would have been set, do this, do this, do this. So anyway, so I started to understand that. So I had some icons created. So number one, to kind of ease the process of the person who's making the purchase. So I'll share those with you guys in a little bit. And then I had to pull all the way back and think about who's our target audience. Our target audience, we want men to buy from us because they're buying for gifts for their wives, their moms, their daughters, their whoever the case may be. We're looking at targeting kids who want to buy something for their mom. And we're also looking at the woman who just wants to buy something for herself. Those are three separate experiences. So we need three separate landing pages that feel like that, because the value, I pay a lower cost per click when my full experience is the right experience for the consumer from that Google ad all the way through. Right. So it's so now I had to talk to Jamila yesterday and be like, hey, because she set up Clavio for me. And I had to say, hey, and she kind of agreed with me, like, yeah, this is where it needs to go. She's like, the message is a little bit convoluted, but we have to really invest the time to get that done. So now I am thinking about images, right? Because how do you sell something? You have to have a photo shoot. Even though we are not holding the product, I now have to look at what's the best way for me to get this message across to the world, that if you land there and you're buying something for yourself, that this is perfect for any occasion that you want to use it for. If you're looking for something for your wife, your mom, your daughter, that, you know what I'm saying, that you could easily get this unique gift in 3 easy steps. And if you're looking for something for your mom, you're seeing necklaces that are like mom, things that you can wear, maybe add like all the kids' names on the necklace, and you know what I mean, things that are focused on that. So we have to now start curating those experiences for these ads to make sense. So that's really the next step. So, and I'm thinking through that on a budget as well, too. How do I do that effectively on a budget? So, we are no longer in the day and age of where we need, it would be great to get a photographer and all of that, right? Can I call someone to do it 100%? I'm sure I have like 99 favors inside that I can leverage, but I can simply upgrade my phone, maybe to the new iPhone 14. Hint, hint. See Michael take a sip. Upgrade my phone.
I don't know. You cut out there for a second. But that's okay. You can continue.
But then, like I have a 16-year-old niece. I have another niece. I have, so I have one who's a mom. So I'm now looking at how do I curate these same experiences with my people as the models. So it's firstly authentic, so you could see yourself there. How do I also maybe, do a little bit of a low budget photo shoot, right? I do things all the time. I have lights, I have all the things, and I understand what product shots could look like. My friend who supplies the jewelry has a great eye for this stuff. So I can leverage that, and as a part of my creative self, lean into that and get the photos, along with working with Jamila to set the tone for what that looks like, right? So so that's kind of the direction that we're going in. And then the other thing we're doing is now focusing in on Mother's Day and Valentine's Day, because we are competing in a holiday market. So why compete in a holiday market when we should be planning and prepping and even getting the brand awareness for that time? And the other thing we're seeing is that people are giving us their email addresses and they're giving us their phone number. So every day we're collecting a new email address, right? So that's not a bad thing as well either. So I'm like, okay, cool. We need to lean to the quiz a little bit more, because we have an idea. The quiz works really well, and it's what's her style. And so someone gets to take that, and then they get recommendations, and then we can create a page experience from that quiz to lead them back to, here's trendy, here's just, so it's really all about when the consumer sees the ad or sees that first touch, do all the parts connect so that they get that experience? That, my friend, lowers our cost per click. It comes back to cost. And then it tells those people who are coming to buy from us that we are the right person for them. They see what they expected to see, and then we continue to build trust. So those are some of the steps that we're taking to move forward. I know that's a lot.
Yeah, but such good stuff. So, your business in digital, this is what we're here for. And what I want to highlight out of what you've said is landing pages and how we are using landing pages. So we've seen a lot of times, and we've worked with people a lot of times, where they want to run ads and the tendency is to drop people on their homepage, on their website. And we would recommend, again, no, for all those reasons. you are probably marketing to several different profiles, several different consumer profiles, and you want that ability to curate each experience, just as Tamara said. And this is what landing pages do. So while you may put, a lot of people put a lot of effort into the website, and maybe a lot of the wrong effort at times that we've seen, right? But the landing page is what gives you that window to say that if I am targeting women who are buying for themselves, that this is an experience that's curated for that flow, for that customer journey, which is different from me buying for my wife, let's say, right? Where I get a little more instructions because, of course, I don't read instructions, right? So I need to get something more. But think of what that does, where we have one store, but now we have several different landing pages. So we are increasing our chances, let's say, of capturing our ideal customers as we have identified them so far. So just wanted to press that point home. Landing pages, don't drop people, just drop them on your website and let them wander around. Be specific and intentional into where you're sending them.
I feel like landing pages is almost like when you go into a department store and you just go into a different section. So you go into the store and you greet. Well, I know you all have this across there, the Walmarts and the Target. Somebody might greet you and say, you know what you're looking for. Or you're looking for a woman, and they go over there, and then somebody else is there who is probably, a little more experienced and could speak to these different things. I feel like that's what landing pages do, right?
Like
Applause, applause.
yeah, like if I had to explain it, I'm gonna just start stealing that.
That's what my non-marketing brain heard. Like that's what I was like, oh, okay, it's almost like that different experts, But so I love that idea. So I feel like I need to talk to Michael after the show about my thing. Yes, I feel like I need to develop some different landing pages. But what I did also take away is you said something there to get the cost of the click down, the cost per click, more money has to spend first. So
Well, I don't know.
more money, meaning more time, because you talked about the photo shoot. You talked about immediately, I was like, oh, are we hiring a photographer? Right? Even if you didn't hire a photographer, it's your time. It's your, maybe you said you talked about upgrading the phone, maybe buying. So you may not hire a photographer, but you may buy a cheaper piece of equipment that may help you to do it. Maybe you buy a light, an extra light or whatever, right? You spoke about, bringing in Jamila. So as a consultant, you have this consultant who's helping you, So immediately in my mind, I was like, okay, to get to the future of where the cost per click comes down, there's some initial investment that has to happen now. There's somebody now, and I mean, I know you talked about calling in favors and stuff, but let's just say you're a business owner that doesn't have that, right? You don't have the luxury of being able to do those things. You may have to really hire the photographer, or you may really have to go out there and buy the iPhone to start with, or buy whatever phone is out there and set aside again your time. So we talked about the hours. So I just wanted to highlight that's when you were saying all of that. I was like, okay, that sounds good. But from a money perspective, I'm seeing that you're asking for money now. Yeah. So
Right.
I just wanted to highlight that timing issue.
So the other thing too is that we also have a friends and family strategy in place right now. Where we're driving, we are actively reaching out. So we're seeing sales from that. So we're moving. We haven't just said, all right, we're just going to reach out to all the other people. We're going to reach out to that friends and family network. We all know the 100 people who need to buy for their holidays, and we're offering them a discount to do that. So we are working at seeing how can we recoup, right, some things that allow us to move the process through. So yes, definitely there are some definite costs to that. But the other thing too, I want to highlight is that we're also looking at that investment in the first 6 months, right? If we need to invest in the first 6 months, that recoup time, because that's what we see in these businesses, right? When this picks up, what this business can provide, we would easily recoup all the cost and effort in probably 6 months, and we would be in a space where this business could be easily profitable in less than a year, based on my having sold this before, having done this before, price points, margins. I think, and Mike, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think when we are not looking at this business to drive us revenue right away. So that's, I think, the difference too, right? As you're looking at an e-commerce business, setting expectations, of being clear that, okay, if I had to do this on a shoestring budget, what are the things I'm going to do, right? We're using Shopify, so we're paying for Shopify. So Shopify is $25 a month. We added in some apps, right? To we're at a space where I think we're paying $35 a month. So I know that's a cost, but I can get everything I need to get up and running through Shopify. Understanding the photo shoot pieces, right? That's a cost. How do you do those things on a budget, incorporating your time, all those things? But that's a cost there where you could say, hey, you could probably commit, let's say, $500, right? This equipment, all that stuff to make that happen. And then from there, it's understanding the tools that you need, because you may need some experts to come in and help here and there, understanding what that looks like, and understanding the target audience is really where you save the most money. If you spend more time investing and understanding who these targets are, I think that's where you really start to hone in. Who are you selling to offline right now? What do they really look like? What do they feel like? Who's the person who's the ideal person that you're selling to offline? Because many times when we start these businesses, we're not starting e-commerce first. We're probably starting product offline first, right? So what does that feel like? And honing in on those people a little bit more, right? Who was really friendly, who enjoyed the product, who took your information, who wanted to buy again, when did they become a loyal customer, and starting to understand that person, that formula, because that's who you're looking for online, and that's what you're trying to really get to. So target audience is where I would say you would save the most money. And the advertising is also a way to make sure you marry those two stories, right? So absolutely some costs, but I think there are ways to do it on a bit more of a shoestring budget. And in setting expectations, you will not probably make all that money back in the first month or two, right? That's just what it is. You have to do the work. You have to optimize and optimize and optimize. But when it's at optimal, what is that optimal place, everything really lines up and falls into place. And then that's where the magic happens. That's where you see these consistent sales coming in one after another after another. You know, we are working with Shop Kareem, and we just started running new ads for them again. And we went through, we created an ad, they updated their landing page experience. And I mean, like in the first, I think 2 days, we were able to see sales. We're able to see cost per click go down. Like I've seen so many things, and we're getting more people kind of engaged with that process and looking at Caribbean stuff, right? So the e-commerce opportunity is definitely there, but it's really about curating that right experience. And that's where you save the time and the money in the beginning. It's understanding, what does that experience feel like? And does your customer, when they get there, are they getting everything that they need, right? You have to be customer focused in this instance.
So yes, that customer focus. I don't know if Andrew is ready to jump in as yet, but what we're saying as well is that with an e-commerce store, that heavy lifting has to be done in the first 3 months, right? So cater at least first 3 months for pure heavy lifting and learning and adjusting and optimizing. The next 3 months after that is when you probably start to see your first sets of sales, and you're now proving out your model, right? So you should start to see, what you should expect to see is sales starting and trending upward in terms of number of sales per day, per month, per week, etc. But after that, we find that we're into a model now where your operational costs drop significantly, because now you have a standard operating procedure. You're very clear on your target market. You're very clear on your messaging. You're very clear on the digital pieces that you need to have in place, the emails that are going out, So your time that's spent now flips right around, where you're not putting much time into it per week, let's say, but you're getting a higher return on it. So that's the flip side financially that we look at, or that we're expecting, or we're aiming for actually, where that whole operational part of it reduces significantly. We understand our target audience, we're clear on how to speak to them, we're clear on what converts people into customers, and we just kind of bring everything down to a steady state of operations.
Yeah, absolutely. So that time, yeah, and that is the difference with an e-commerce business. That heavy lifting that you have to put, that it's very much front loading, right? With a product-based business, you don't necessarily have that, because like I say, if you have the cakes and you decide you want to sell cupcakes, once you get it sold, now granted, you may not be perfect with the price that you're setting it at, but at least you get back some cash back in your hand almost immediately. It's almost like an instant gratification, for want of a better word, right? I could sell these cupcakes, I could go on the corner and I could sell it, or I could decide to message my friends and get orders for next week, and they could start to turn over the money. But with an e-commerce business, I'm seeing there's a definite time lag between, oh, I'm in business, I've launched this business, and I'm actually making sales, I'm getting back returns. And that is something, if you want to get into this space, it's a feature, I think, of e-commerce that people need to understand, because they may jump in thinking, oh, yeah, I'm just going to run the ads and sales are going to come. And 2 months later, they're scratching their heads and probably like not understanding why they're not seeing it. Right? Whereas with, like I said, the physical business, the cupcakes, the person running the cupcakes probably sell about 6 or 7 times already, and you're still there waiting. So I think it's just something that we need
Yeah.
to highlight with e-commerce.
So this takes me back. I automatically see a graph in my mind, and I see this is where the law of diminishing return steps in, right? Because this is where that time investment, and I see this straight out of my economics class. It's that time investment, because so as you put to the forefront a product-based business, that structure, right? There are factors there. And what's going to happen is that at some point in time, this e-commerce business is going to overtake that product-based business. And so it's really where you put your time and effort, right? And as Michael said, we're going to be able to control cost in a way that product-based business may not be able to control costs, right? So it's really time and effort. And I know I see those graphs, I see the divergence in the graph already, right? So we're definitely clear on, yes, it's going to take time, but a product-based business, there's a lot of heavy lifting around that as well, that we may or may not be impacted by. And then where we are is that we are in a space where we can easily shift margins based on the price of silver increasing. We can shift audiences as well too. As things happen very quickly, we can say, okay, great, we probably need to look at the top, because that's all the information we're getting as well too from these Google ads, is that we probably need to look at the top 10 to 20% of household incomes to sell to if we have to increase prices, right? People who are more open to purchasing gifts of sentiment, and then lean into the sentiment conversation more. So as I look at all the structures of it, I think we get to that place. But I think, definitely understanding yes, there is caution. You have to front load. And that's what digital marketing really allows you to do. You front load, but you get to adjust and adapt in a way so quickly. And that can save you money as well too, right? Because what we may have spent, we had $1,000 budget for Google ads for this month, and we spent $400. We now need to make updates. We can pivot that $600 to say, let's pay for these updates. Let's get this stuff done, because we are budgeted for another $1,000 for December. So we can talk to our finance guy and reallocate. So that's also something that we have to look at, right? Where does the reallocation come in that structure as well too? So it allows us to pivot, because we still understand that, yes, we still have we want to get into another month of testing. So what does that look like? But each time we get a clue, and we get the clue, it's like a deeper and deeper clue to unlocking the puzzle of consistent sales, right? Experience, the whole thing, all the little details. What does a man want to see? What does a woman buying for herself want to see? What does the kid need to see buying for their parent? Creating those experiences and then moving through that process to just keep unlocking, unlocking, unlocking. And then it's like, boom. Digital marketing.
At its best, digital marketing at its best, but definitely, I could see why we always say this on this show. The digital marketing really is an investment, right? From a finance perspective, I could see, sure, it makes it everything, and I always say this, everything makes its way back to the financials, yes, but digital marketing really allows you to, as you say, manage those costs in between that advertising spend. Traditional marketing, I keep saying, you put up the billboard and you have no idea whether this thing is working or not, right? You put up the billboard and all you've done, like I say, is, at least for here, for us in Trinidad, you put up a landmark for somebody when they're traveling, right? They say you turn by that sign there, you see that KFC sign there, you turn there, and because that's all it does, right? It doesn't really, that's all you think it does, but digital marketing offers some real hardcore information that allows you to do what you're doing, to actually pause a campaign and say, oh, let's make this change before we go back out to the market. Let's tweak this before we go back out. With traditional marketing, you don't really get to do that. Once the horse is out the stable, I think that a traditional marketing campaign, it has to run its course, because it involves, the sampling and the events and they might tag on some kind of brand person, ambassador, and you have to do all these different things and these different ads, and you're running the whole TV ad and the TV ad and the radio ad, and you have to run its course before you could come back and say, well, that didn't work, or it's work, or it worked or whatnot. Or the way digital marketing is set up, I think it's a game changer in terms of, from a finance perspective, being able to account for the money better. And as I told you, as finance, you want to hold marketing accountable for how the money was spent. And I think digital marketing allows a real opportunity to be able to see results and say, oh, yes, go ahead. Or no, oh, I see you pull back there because you said, you want to tweak. And I just think it just makes better sense.
It absolutely does make more sense. And just to parallel this to, as much as we're talking about high knickknacks on an e-commerce store, let's just take it a little wider. So for anyone who has that digital presence and is advertising or marketing for your business, what we're highlighting here is that learn from that ad spend, learn from that data that's coming back from that ad spend. That's a point in which it doesn't matter if it's an e-commerce store or any other kind of business. But if you are really looking at that data, it means that you can control that ad cost, right? We have seen for ourselves where a lot of ad cost is ad spend is wasted, literally wasted, because it's going to the wrong audiences. It has the wrong message. And been able to save clients a lot of money in terms of annual ad spend just with optimizing who their target audience is. It also puts you into that continuous learning phase about your customer. And that's most important, because none of this is one and done. It's an ongoing process. So you want to make sure that regardless of what type of business you have, that online presence, learn from that data. If you're running ads, make sure that you're not just broad scoping it. If you have somebody running it for you, they should be able to clearly tell you who they've targeted, what the messages are. Tamara can go a little further into that. But these are things I think we want to talk about in terms of what can you expect from a digital marketer who's running these ads for you.
Yeah, no, I love that. I'm also running ads for Chef, which just paused as well too, because we got some learnings. And so her ads are around hot cocoa, and we actually had a conversation, I think on Monday, and I was like, oh, I think it was so far we spent ads on we spent money on Facebook. On Facebook, I think we spent $150, and on Google Ads, we spent about the same thing. So paused ads because now I'm focused on, all right, so same thing, right? As I've been thinking through High Knickknacks, I've been thinking through her process as well, her product as well, and selling hot cocoa. So she revamped her page. We talked about that on the show on Monday. She revamped her page. And then now I'm focused on cold weather, getting cocoa for the cold weather places, right? And isolating, like, there are little things as simple as in Google Ads, you can isolate, you can put the United States, or you can isolate each state and see which state is the top performer and start leaning into just that state. So your ad is just only showing up in that place where people are, so it's starting to shift the message. While it's a great gift, we're in the middle of gift giving season. We're at the end of gift giving season, right? Technically. So we need to start shifting into a cold weather conversation, and this keeps you warm, right? So the messaging needs to shift a little bit. And so that's kind of where we need to go. I started off with a lot of keywords, but now even with both strategies, I've leaned in and honed in on one set of keywords, right? For the jewelry store, going back to that, customized jewelry was the one that drove the most traffic and got people to focus in on adding to carts. That did a little bit more. So I've just leaned into that as an ad group, and all my words in there around customized necklace. You know what I'm saying? Get a great top selling customized necklace. Get a da 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 da. So really driving people to know this is high end quality customized necklace, sterling silver customized necklace. So when they see an ad, what they're expecting to see is something that is how to customize your own necklace, right? Those conversations. So really honing in on the thing that worked and leveraging that, right? So there's just a lot of, as we go through the process, those are some of the changes we're making. I'll also share with you guys, this one is my friend Eric kind of told me about this one. So I'm going to share my entire screen so I can go back and forth. So if you'll see right here, this is where I have on the website. For those of you on Clubhouse, you can check out the website where it says step 1, select the item you'd like to personalize from our website. Step 2, enter the text, right? So you see how clunky that is? And it's like customized jewelry made in 3 easy steps. So I went to Fiverr. Can you see my screen still?
Yes.
Okay, so I went to Fiverr and had someone create this for me. Super easy, right? Step 1, step 2, step 3. I Michael proofed it. So now we have these
Thank you.
now we have these icons that will replace these words, and that will probably live throughout the site because we started to put it everywhere on the site. Right, we started to put that language everywhere on the site. So now that's going to be an icon that shows up throughout the site and gives people a little bit more directions in a visual way, right? So now we're really moving people to say, here's how easy it is. So we're always getting you closer to the sale. It's 1, 2, 3, because people don't have time to read. So all these little changes, all these little shifts are really helping to move the needle, right? And get us to a place where we'll start seeing more traction. And so the other thing is, we don't have to, while the ads are paused, while we're looking to create these experiences, we can still continue to sell because the site speed is fine, right? So we can still continue to drive sales. Everything isn't horrible. We could focus ads simply. I can do an ad set focused on customized necklaces, take that necklace page right now and maybe set up something that works with some stock imagery and just make it work, right? Where we tell the story until we get to that full brand experience. So I think we have some room in there to get some stuff done so we can continue testing as well.
And this is, so again, this is what makes it, working in digital makes it worthwhile. That ability to change quickly. In that example that Tamara just gave, it's looking at so what is key there, that even when paused, we've already started. Traffic is already going to the site. There are already eyes on the site. So these pauses don't mean that we are shutting off a possible income stream by any means. It continues all throughout this optimization process. So you're still going to catch fish as you're, building that net wider and wider. You are still going to catch fish. So that's a good balancer of, as we said, that pause in time to do work, to upgrade anything on the site, to optimize any page. We already have a presence. We've already put it out there. So another thing to consider when you're thinking about that, about ads for your business and how they may work, is that ability that even when the ad is paused, it's been running, you're still going to be pulling traffic to your site.
So I have a question. So the part I want to, I think would be beneficial for everybody listening in, looking on. And I guess I'm going to look straight at Michael, because I know if I look at Tamara, she's just going to point and say, "Is Michael?" So summarize for the viewers, all these different things that you're using, because you spoke about, there's automation, there's the site, there's the things happening in the background. So what are some of the apps or subscriptions that you guys have been using in this process, and also let them know whether it's free or paid and whatnot, so they could get a sense?
Oh, well, yes, she would have pointed to me. So let's go through the costs. You're going to have, just from going from the top, tomorrow you'll just nod, whatever, tell me if I've missed anything. But starting from the top, you've got your domain, you've got to register. Then you've got to get hosting for that domain. You've got to get your website developed, right? If you're doing a Shopify store, then there's that Shopify cost attached. And as Tamara mentioned, if you're using any other Shopify apps, that may go up a different price point. Yep.
So something like Shopify, you could get your domain incorporated with the Shopify website. So you're paying one cost for that. And some of the apps are free. So we are using 2 apps, one free app on Shopify right now, one paid app. The paid app is to give us variations and where we could type in customize that name. So that's how Shopify is working for us specifically.
And then we have the other subscriptions, Klaviyo, which is the email, right? And I'll add in there a portion of cost, which is just for work management. So that would just be incorporated into our work management tool, which is ClickUp. Then we have things like, if you really wanted to go deep, then you have the tools that we're using to make this content, things like Animoto and so on, right? And Canva and these types of things. So a lot of these things, to get to free and paid now, to that portion of it, I am always a fan of saying, if you're in test phase, definitely look at that free version first. Understand timing in which you will step up to a paid version, because a lot of us take that free version, try to take it a little too far. Is that you want to understand the timing in which, okay, I'm going to use it free for this amount of time, and I have some clear goals that I want to achieve while I'm using the free version. Because you don't want to use free just because, oh, it's free. You're using free to test. You're using free to learn. You're using free to make sure that you are able to get in there and work at a level that's meaningful, and you get the output that you want, right? So besides, I think that in itself is the majority of costs that you're looking at. So you're looking at subscriptions, you're looking at that time cost, that uptake cost, as we said, both for learning and so on. You're looking at development time, both in terms of content, website, etc. But all in all, all costs that can be managed and can be offset by starting off with the free level of some of these subscriptions.
Nice. I like that. And I will, I will add in one. I'm sure you forgot. I'm sure some of that copy came from Jasper, right?
Indeed, it did. You are absolutely right. So yes, we also use an AI tool for content, Jasper.ai. So yes, there is that cost for Jasper. What I like though is that something that you look at in digital, and a lot of the platforms now, because their business depends on it, is there's a lot of ways to earn money back from these things, and don't forego those streams, right? So we're talking not just, as you mentioned, Jasper, I would note the first one is, of course, referral links, right? So you may have a referral link for your email platform. You may have a referral link for a WordPress plugin and so on. Make sure that these things, a lot of times people, when they see a presence that's working well, it looks good to them, they want to know as well what tools you're using, and they will probably click through just based on that. And we have seen as well internally that there's nothing like that referral money, because you didn't do anything really, right? So you want to make sure that you have those referral links up as well. And in the case of Jasper, a lot of these platforms, because they want you to utilize them as much as you can to the 100, close to 100%, there's ways to earn credits back from the platform. So in the case of Jasper, they have a lot of seminars, one-on-ones, different things where they're very clear. Listen, you can earn bonus credits, right? So if you take these classes, all of these things help to offset that cost, right? So that you can look at all the content for high knickknacks. We can look at, say, if we were looking at posts for 30 days and wanting to generate captions for those 30 posts. But because I've gone into Jasper and said, hey, I'm going to take this masterclass that's free inside of Jasper, I'm going to get back a certain amount of credits. So therefore, I've just offset the cost of creating those 30 captions.
And we made $186 from a referral link to what was it? Try Interact.
Try Interact.
$186. So,
and Aweber wasn't bad either.
Aweber wasn't bad either. I mean, I think like we got like 30% or something like that. So we're seeing like those affiliate links. We're gonna go to town on those, the things that we use that we believe in. But yeah, it's definitely, so there are ways, but you kind of have to kind of go through the process. And the other thing is that we understand that we run a digital marketing agency. So a lot of these tools also, we have those costs have been kind of pushed off to other things. So we're kind of riding the wave of it a little bit, right? So there's some benefit there. But all in all, getting an e-commerce site up, I mean, and there are other tools, right? We're using Shopify, but Wix, for instance, we're working with a friend of mine. She just needed some stuff done. Her and her partner are working on a business, and they want to, they want to get a website up and running. And I know that she just doesn't have the time. I know he doesn't have the time to manage all that. They're not going to get digital marketing savvy. So I got them a Wix site, and Jamila and Maria are working on getting that up and running. So that's $500. He has a DJ business and they have a photo booth. He has an app that he can use on Wix. He has payments he can collect. People can book on Wix. We got the URL, and they have some email integration in there. So that's like a one and done tool that they can grow with. And it was $500, right? We're doing some work for them to kind of, spruce it up, get it looking nice so that they have a nice, solid, that's a great starter kit place. Chef is using a Google GoDaddy site, right? That she's able to drag, drop, and make it happen relatively quickly. So she was able to pull together a page I was like, hey, could you do it? And she's like, it's done. You know what I mean? Like an hour later, and it looked good. It was perfect. Colors change, everything. So I think there are some tools out there that you can use that gives you that starter feel, but still gives the online presence that someone needs to feel comfortable with, right? Gives that customer journey. And it's always about thinking, what's the experience feel like? So there are some tools out there that allow you to get up and running sooner than later. And consider those tools as well. As you graduate, you can move to something different, right? You can move to a WordPress later on. You can move to all the things that are bigger, but get something that you yourself can manage. If you're a small business, consider that, and consider one of those all-in-one solutions. It could be game-changing.
And I just want to go back to Andrea's department store reference, right? So just imagine you opened a store in a mall and you wanted to move stores to another mall. You can't really, right? That's a big undertaking. But what we're talking about here is growing with one platform, switching to another platform, all possible in digital as you grow, and all able to be accounted for to the finance, to our CFO.
Yeah, yes, 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 yes. All these things are very traceable and very account. Like you could be able to account for it. You know, so I love that. I love that part of it. So definitely, yeah. The CFO approved. CFO approved.
Well, awesome, guys. We are at 8:01 and we've been talking a lot about your business in digital. We've been talking about this e-commerce store that we are running, that we are working, testing things out, trying new things, launching a new brand. It's called highnittknacks.com. It's where you can find and order personalized jewelry for the special lady in your life, your mom, your wife, your daughter, whoever it is. So definitely check out the website. We're using it as a great tool. We're using it in two ways, right? As an additional revenue stream and also as a way to test out our marketing, to test out strategies. Right now, we're running Google Ads. We've connected Clavio, we're running email marketing. So we're doing really all the things we can consider. We have a social media presence. We're working through all those things and really trying to pull together a holistic strategy. What we've been able to learn so far with the data has been game changing and is allowing us to really adapt and move really quickly. And that's some of the things that you can actually get out of really running a holistic digital marketing plan, a digital marketing campaign with all thinking through what is my end goal, what are the things I'm looking for, and understanding the metrics that matter, right? I'm not looking at all the data points, but I'm looking at the data points that get me to the story that says, hey, these are the things that you need to change. If someone doesn't click, right? If you are driving traffic and they get there and nothing happens, it's because they're not interested. So you need to consider, what does that first click mean? They move away. What changes do I need to make? So you need to be super objective about making changes. Don't fall in love with the design. Don't fall in love with your online presence. Be nimble, be quick, understand the data points, because that's really how you get to the money in the bank. So I'm going to pass it over to Andrea to introduce yourself, tell the people who you are. Same with you, Michael, and then we can get out of here.
Hi guys, it's Andrea, your virtual CFO. As always, I'm the voice of your money and I help you make better financial decisions for your business. Thank you for joining us today. It was really good to just take a break and just look at the practical side of running an e-commerce store. And we hope that we were able to impart some knowledge and that you're inspired now to go and make those necessary changes to your site. All right, so we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks again for joining us. I'm Michael Wilshire. You can find me everywhere Monovan Digital is. Remember, we're always here to help you understand how to leverage digital to move your business forward and grow. Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of the week and talk to you next week.
Oh, guys, this has been awesome. I love talking e-commerce. I love talking data, numbers. So much fun. I felt like I talked a little bit economics today too. I was like, woo, all the things that make me excited about life in general. A little bit sad, but so true. No, so seriously, thank you so much for joining us. This is Your Business in Digital. What we're doing here is we're helping you translate your business to digital. We're helping you think about all the steps that you need to take, but we really want to get you to that place where digital drives revenue in the bank for you. So we're here Mondays and Wednesdays. We broadcast across Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Clubhouse, talking about your business in digital. So we'll see you guys on Monday. Have an amazing, amazing rest of your week. Enjoy your Wednesday. Take it easy, guys. Bye.